I declare war. So this video is a response to several videos that I've seen where you have these coons defending Donald Trump and attacking Jay-Z. So first I'm going to summarize in response to several videos that I've seen where you have these coons. Sorry about that. So this video is a response to several coons that have done videos defending Donald Trump and attacking rapper Jay-Z for his comments about Donald Trump. I'm going to provide like some basic background information, but I encourage you all to actually watch Jay-Z's interview with Van Jones on CNN. I'll post a link in the description box so that you all could watch that video if you haven't seen it. But basically, Jay-Z was asked about Donald Trump's comments, where Donald Trump basically referred to an entire continent, the continent of Africa, as a shithole. And he referred to Haiti as a shithole. And these, as you know, are predominantly black countries. And basically, it's a racist statement because at the same time, right after referring to Africa and Haiti as shitholes, Donald Trump referred to Norway as a place that he wants to have people come from to America, as a place where we need to have more immigration from. So there's racial implications. Norway is a predominantly white country, and the countries that he referred to as shitholes are black countries. So there is an element of racism there, obviously. So Jay-Z was asked about it, and Jay-Z made several comments just talking about how Donald Trump is misinformed, talking about how his comments were disappointing and hurtful, and he made other statements as well. And Jay-Z was also asked about Donald Trump. He said, well, Donald Trump can say, well, I've created all these jobs and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that's something that's beneficial to black communities. And then Jay-Z said something to the effect that it's not about money. And he went on and on. I encourage you all to watch the video. I'm not going to summarize everything that was said in that interview, but I'll have a link to that interview in the description box. So in response to that, you had this 15-year-old coon, you know, this kid who's a coon on the rise. And really, I think that this guy is just an actor, but this is what he said. He was talking about how Jay-Z failed to appreciate the low black unemployment rates under President Trump. He also talked about how Jay-Z doesn't care about black people, and he talked about how those jobs mean a lot. He also talked about how Donald Trump's tax plan is going to bring more money into people's pockets. And he also went on to talk about how Jay-Z doesn't speak for black people. And he says that Donald Trump, this guy, C.J. Pearson, actually had the nerve and the audacity to say that Donald Trump cares about every person of every hue. And that's why he supports Donald Trump, meaning that Donald Trump, you know, loves people of different races, and he, you know, cares for everyone and all that kind of stuff. So that's a summary of what Jay Peterson had to say. I will include a link to his video in the description box as well so that you could actually watch it for yourself. Now, also, I'm going to go into another set of coons. You have Diamond and Silk. And they made several comments, and I'm going to respond to all these comments after I summarize their comments. I will eventually post a link to Diamond and Silk's video in the description box as well so that you could watch their video. They talked about how under Donald Trump, unemployment is low and home ownership is high. You know, they complained about Jay-Z calling women derogatory names. I'm going to have to get into that in a minute. I have to dig into that. Also, you know, they went on to talk about how Jay-Z needs to respect the president because the president is trying to make America great. And they also went on to talk about how Jay-Z is just mad because his influence didn't influence people to vote for Hillary Clinton, who they refer to as Crooked Hillary. Also, they talked about how Jay-Z is out of touch when he said money doesn't matter. You know, how Jay-Z doesn't know what's going on in the hood. You know, he just talks about the hood and stuff like that. So that's what Diamond and Silk said. Peace to Zeus Flippy. Shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in. Also, like recently, well, it hasn't been recently. Like during the campaign, you had this guy Afro Synergy, a relatively popular YouTuber here, voice his support for Donald Trump as well, and he made some points, and I'm going to get into what he had to say in a second. But the thing about Afro Synergy that I find so shocking is the fact that this guy went from being a black separatist, a black nationalist, to becoming essentially a black coon for Donald Trump. This guy is tap dancing, this guy is shining shoes, this guy is going out of his way to defend this racist ass president, Donald Trump. Donald Trump has made racist comments about Africa and Haiti, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Donald Trump has defended white supremacists, when he talked about how there were some very fine people participating in that white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. But yet and still, you have this person who has gone from being pro-black to being pro-coon, from being pro-black to being pro-racist, pro Donald Trump. I mean, that is absolutely insane to me that someone could make that transition. But anyway, let's get into what he had to say. The first thing that he talked about was money and its equation to happiness and all that kind of stuff. And, he talked about how money is a part of the equation of happiness, how money is a factor. And he talked about how businesses are coming back to the United States because of Donald Trump. He also talked about how immigration is part of the reason why unemployment is low right now. That was one of the arguments that he made. And he said that basically when these illegal immigrants are pushed out of the United States, that brings about more jobs. It frees up more jobs for American people and black people. He talked about how there are jobs that were formerly held by black people that are now held by illegal immigrants. He cited the example of people working in 7-Eleven. And, he basically talked about how African Americans will replace these illegal immigrants once they're pushed out of the country. And he also talked about how Donald Trump's bringing back, these manufacturing jobs. So that's a summary of some of the things that these coons have said in defense of Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to pause for a second. I'll be right back in 1 second. I just have to take care of something. Shout out to Votron Black. Shout out to Doug. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. Good morning, everyone. All right, so I provided a summary of the comments of these people. Now what I want to do is go through their comments and respond to their comments, because I think it's absolutely despicable that you have black people defending Donald Trump, given the fact that he's made these racist comments about Haiti and Africa. I mean, in case we have forgotten, we are African people. We come from the continent of Africa. So when he's calling these African countries shitholes, he's talking about us. When he talks about Haiti being a shithole, he's talking about black people. That's who he's talking about. Don't get it twisted. That's what it's about. And, this is not the first time that this man has said racist things about black immigrants. He talked about sending Nigerians back to their huts. This man is used. This man talked about how all Haitians have AIDS. This is what this man has said. And when I get a chance, I'll post a link in the description box of the articles detailing this. But yet and still, you have these tap dancing coons defending this guy, making excuses for this guy. And that's not even getting into policy issues. I've talked about the policy issues, but I could go on and on about the policy. So what I'm going to do is just go through, some of the points that were raised. First of all, this big point about unemployment. Let's address that for a second. Now I'm going to share my screen and show you this article from the New York Times. Just a second, bear with me. Okay, let me share my screen. I'm trying to do this real quick because I have to go to work soon. Okay, so you see this article from the New York Times. Title here. This will be in the description box so that you can read it for yourself. It talks about how unemployment is low, but it also points out how it's been on a steady decline for several years, as you see right here. Decreasing steadily from 16.4% in August 2011 to 7.8% in January 2010. So already been on a decline. That's the first thing. And as these people try to bash President Obama, they refuse to give him credit for making that possible. Because as you can see right here, it says that unemployment was at 16.4% at the time when Obama was in the, shortly before Obama. Well, actually, that was during Obama's time. And you all know, like, what happened before Obama took office. This country was in a recession. You had the mortgage foreclosure crisis. You had high unemployment. And as a result of some of the policies that Obama implemented, unemployment overall, and in the Black community in particular, has been on a steady decline, as this article points out. And this article also points out this. It says, if you think the economy is driven by concrete, specific policies around taxes, spending, monetary policy, and regulation, the answer is no to the question of whether or not Donald Trump can claim credit for the state of the economy. So there's nothing that this man can do to claim credit. The most that this man, Donald Trump, can do is say, well, at least I didn't mess up the good work that Obama has done. Because this man, after all, has only been in the White House for 1 year. You can't point to any solid policies that this man has implemented that have led to this unemployment rate, an unemployment rate that already was on the decline. Now, this guy, Afro Synergy, tries to do so, and he fails miserably. Basically what he says is because of Donald Trump's immigration policies, because he's cracking down on illegal immigrants, jobs for African Americans, and that's the reason why the Black unemployment rate is so low. So I'm going to address that, and then I'm going to deal with this whole job issue, this whole issue about Jay-Z saying money doesn't matter in a second. But let's deal with this immigration thing. Afro Synergy cannot cite one single study proving this point. One single study proving that Donald Trump's immigration policies within this 1 year created this situation where you have lower unemployment. He can't point to any scientific or researched report or study proving that point. What you have is a case of pure speculation and conjecture. Nothing solid, nothing based in real, actual facts. There are studies that go against what these people are saying when they say, well, if you get rid of these immigrants, that's going to create more jobs for Black people. And I'm going to show you first to such a study, and I may be able to actually link to the study. So if you can bear with me for a second. So you have this story right here. Why Black people need to reject Donald Trump's anti-immigrant BS. And in this article, study, and it talks about how immigration actually creates jobs. When you have more immigrants in the United States. It's a demand for goods and services, an increased demand for goods and services. And when you have such a demand, that means that there have to be more people employed to provide those goods and services, meaning that more American people and African American people are hired immigration into this country. Now, this article cites this study. University economist Jack Strauss found that increased immigration, including Latinos, results in higher wages for African Americans and lower poverty for African Americans. It talked about how 1% Latino immigration contributes to a 1.4% increase in employment rates among African Americans. And it also mentioned that how for every 1% increase in a city's share of Latinos, median and mean wages increased by 3%. This article will be in the description box. Let me see if I can link to the actual report. So this is the article that cites that report as well. So there you have it. I mean, that's one report points out how immigration actually contributes to higher employment opportunities, increased employment opportunities for African Americans. But this guy, AfroSynergy, cannot cite one study proving that Donald Trump's immigration policies have contributed employment. He can't point to one study. All he's doing is speculating. That's all he's doing. Actual study, done by a university professor. And also that article cites other studies. So I encourage you all to read those articles for yourself and judge them for yourself. And when you look at immigration policy, I mean, the fact of the matter is, these people are talking about cracking down on illegal immigrants. The fact of the matter is, before Donald Trump even took office, already been cracking down on illegal immigration. He, in fact, deported more illegal immigrants than many of his predecessors. All you have to do is Google that. And actually, I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to do it real quick. Give me a second. And then I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Let me just make sure I don't want to go to anything that's just bear with me a second. I just need to make sure that this video is on YouTube to try to say I'm violating any copyrights. All right, so I'm going to show this to you real quick. Okay, so you have this this post on ABC News that talks about how Obama has deported more people than any other president. So all you have to do is read this, and there are plenty more other articles about this. Right here says, according to governmental data, the Obama administration has deported more people than any other president's history. Okay, so there you have it. You can read this article for yourself, search for yourself. If I have time, I'll post it in the description box. So this notion that all of a sudden Donald Trump is doing something in that area that's helping Black unemployment. Ridiculous, man. I mean, you have to point to some kind of study proving that point. Now, Donald Trump and, his defenders try to say that Donald Trump is bringing back manufacturing jobs. There are very few examples of this guy actually stopping companies from moving out. And Donald Trump made some misrepresentations about stopping one company in particular, Carrier, from moving abroad and, factories. And I'm going to show you that article real quick. And I'll get to your comments. Hopefully I'll be able to get to your comments in a second. Soon. So I'm going to be leaving. Do this. Let me just make sure I had the right story. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so let me share this real quick. All right, so you see this story right here in PolitiFact, how Carrier plant moves forward with planned job cuts. Donald Trump was talking about how he negotiated some deal in Indiana to keep Carrier in Indiana, so that it wouldn't move to Mexico. Starting in July. So this was last year, starting in July of 2017. Laid off 632 Indiana employees and went forward with his plans to go to Mexico, despite all these from Donald Trump that he had worked out some kind of deal, particular manufacturing jobs. And the fact of the matter is, if Donald Trump is able to stop one company here or one company there, outside of the country, I mean, that's beneficial. But the fact of the matter is, stopping one company here or one company there is not factor driving these unemployment figures. It's not one factory here or one factory there is not the reason why we have such low unemployment. Again, that decline started years ago under the Obama administration. People want to give credit to everybody except for the Black president. And, that's typical, man. That's typical. And many of these Negroes, these damn coons that I referred to earlier, are just those kind of people. Now, with one exception, Afro Synergy, he does acknowledge that Obama implemented helpful policies that led to the unemployment rate. Let me continue on with these points. Let me stop sharing my screen. Bear with me a second. I know I'm rushing through this because I got to get to work soon. We have a delay today, so I said, why not just do this quick video? All right, so you had that point about manufacturing. So in terms of this issue about money being equated with happiness, money is a part of happiness, so on that point, I don't disagree with what Afro Synergy, money does help when people have money to buy food and, take care of their kids and provide shelter for themselves, automobiles, and different opportunities are opened up when people have more money. So there is a link between money and happiness. Happiness, have money, money alone won't make somebody happy, but money helps. So I get that point. I understand that point. But I think that people like this guy, Afro Synergy, Silk, and CJ Pearson are missing the point. The point is, the question was about racism. If we were to say that Donald Trump helped lower the Black unemployment, Black community, even if I were to concede that point, which I obviously don't, that Donald Trump made racist statements. That is the core issue that was presented in that interview. And no fact that he made racist comments about Black people. That's the issue. That's what they're not dealing with. That's what they're not confronting. That's what these coons don't want to deal with. I mean, these people don't realize that Donald Trump is a racist. You know, a country that he's referred to as a shithole, a country that he is going out of his way to prevent from coming to America. He's trying to prevent Haitians from coming to America. You know, they have suspended or rescinded temporary protective status for immigrants from Haiti. And for those people who don't know what that is, you know, when someone is from a country that, you know, and they've immigrated to the United States temporarily for work or something like that, and then some disaster happens in that country, for instance, earthquakes or hurricanes or something like that, that makes it unsafe for them to return, or there's a situation where there's civil war or some other kind of strife or some kind of plague or something affecting that particular state, are able to get temporary protective status. Now, here we have a situation where Haiti was hit with an earthquake, destroying the infrastructure of Haiti. You also had a plague of a major disease in Haiti that took a lot of lives there. You also had a hurricane come there and further erode the infrastructure there. So it is unsafe to go back to Haiti at this time. There is a Trump administration that has rescinded that protective status and is trying to kick this country, driven by racism. You know, he's already referred to these countries as shitholes. He's already talked about all Haitians having AIDS. So this policy of getting rid of temporary protective status for Haitian immigrants is a part of that racism. It's a part of that bigotry. It's an extension of it. And it's an extension of American racist immigration policy that they've had towards Haitians for a long time. For instance, they have allowed these white Cubans to come to America while they bar coming to America. That's the issue that these people don't want to address. They don't want to address the racism behind those statements. So unemployment, that's one thing, and these racist comments are quite another thing. Through some of the things that Diamond and Silk had to say, they talked about Jay-Z making derogatory comments about women, calling them derogatory names. That's a very valid point, but it doesn't have anything to do with what the interview was about. It's about Donald Trump's racism. It's about his hostility towards Black immigrants. That was the issue. You also, and also, the point about his derogatory comments about women, these same people they don't have anything to say about Donald Trump's derogatory comments or his derogatory actions towards women. This is a man who talked about sexually assaulting women, talked about grabbing women. Do these women have anything to say about it, Diamond and Silk? These women, they're going to talk about Jay-Z saying things in his song, but what do they have to say about a president who brags about sexually assaulting women? What do they have to say about a president who has an affair with a porn star? What do they have to say about that? What do they have to say about all the disrespectful things that Donald Trump has said about women, calling them all kinds of disrespectful names? He was like talking about one woman who gave him some tough questions during one of the presidential debates. And he was talking about she was on her period. That's why she was giving him these hard questions. That's just to paraphrase and summarize what he was saying. She was bleeding out her eye. Her eyes were bleeding, she was bleeding somewhere else and all this and that. He's called these women all kinds of disrespectful names, accused of sexual harassment by several women. But yet this woman has the nerve, tap dancing minstrels have the nerve to talk about Jay-Z for comments towards women when they don't have a word to say about all the disgusting things that Donald Trump has said and done to women. That speaks to hypocrisy. You know, they talk about Donald Trump trying to make America great again. You know, they said he needs to respect the president. Why respect the president? Anybody, a president who attacks Mexicans, calling them rapists and criminals, a president who has implemented a travel ban against Muslims, a president who has talked about, again, Africa being a shithole and Haiti being shitholes. Why respect this man? Why respect a man who refers to white supremacists as fine people? And who's talked about getting rid of affirmative action, a man who supports racial profiling. Man, that's not making America great. Making America great, again, is not taking away food stamps from the poor. Making America great is not taking away housing from the homeless. That's what Donald Trump is doing. He is not making America great. So, you know, so I already addressed the point about, you know, the job thing and, you know, about Jay-Z's comments with respect to the jobs. That's one of the things to say. All right, so that's all I have to say. You know, I got in there and got out real quick on these comments. I'm going to look through your comments before I close out. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate your support. I just figured, why not just do a quick live stream? You know, I don't have to worry about editing and all that kind of stuff and uploading. So let's see what you all are saying. Out to Doug, shout out to Voltron Black, shout out to Elaine Lloyd, Zeus Flippy, shout out to you, shout out to Covina Man. Exactly, Doug. Trump doesn't have anything to do with it right now. As you point out, it's been gradually decreasing since the recession right before Obama took office. Like, it started decreasing once Obama started implementing policies. But nobody wants to give that black man the credit. Nobody. You know, you got these uninformed Negroes here on YouTube talking about Obama has done nothing for black people, even though Obama helped lead, you know, create policies that have led to this low black unemployment rate. White man is taking credit for what Obama did. Lloyd said, what do black people who support Trump say about his racist comments? How can they continue? I just don't get it. Exactly. I don't get it either. And how these people just ignore this racism coming from this president. This kid, J.C. Peterson, had the audacity to say that this man cares about every person of every hue. That's just an outright lie. I mean, it's just an outright lie for all the reasons that I previously stated. Again, I believe that this guy, C.J. Pearson, is just an actor. He is essentially cooning for fame, and his parents are probably egging him on so that they could reap some money. They want to see this kid have some kind of news deal like you have with these Coons, Diamond and Silk. And that brings me to another point. I mean, these Diamond and Silk are a bunch of, man, they are nothing but coons and minstrels, literally, you know, playing into all these negative stereotypes about black women. You know, they're loudmouth, they're all uncouth, uncivilized, talking about they are some freaking clowns. But Fox News doesn't have any problem bringing clowns to their circus, because that's what Fox News is. It is a circus of race baiting. It is a circus of coonery and buffoonery and Diamond and Silk. But any respectable news channel would not be asking for the political opinions of those two buffoons who obviously don't know what the hell they're talking about. All right, let me just continue on, man. I gotta hurry up. All right. Oh, so I see that Doug said that this guy Brian Logan wants to debate me. So I'm gonna write his name down, and I think that's the same person O'Shea mentioned during my interview with O'Shea. Let me just write down that name real quick. So Doug, did he post that somewhere that he wanted to debate me or what? He has posted talking about that. I'm gonna have to look that guy up. I haven't watched any of his videos. I think that's the guy that O'Shea mentioned, and that was my first time hearing of him. So if you can tell me where you heard that he wants to debate me, I'd like to know. Okay. Yeah, money does help. Money, you know, and that is one thing. I mean, points about the whole money issue because money does make people, it help with happiness. $100 million, I would be very happy right now. That's undeniable. I guess when you get so rich, billionaire. So for him, he has the luxury of being able to say something like that. But if he was back in those projects, and money does in fact matter. But I don't think that was his point. His point was that we were talking about racism, have money or a job. You know, that's a separate issue from these racist comments that Donald Trump made. So I see that somebody says that he compared sexism to racism. He said that hip hop helped people boycott Florida. Are you referring to Jay-Z? And said the only first lady to not have an agenda or a cause. You're right. I mean, Donald Trump's wife hasn't been promoting anything, as far as I could tell. Okay, so I guess this guy's talking about Jay-Z. This must be one of these right-wing people. They said, what has, this person asked, what has Jay-Z done for black people? That's not even the issue. Nowhere discussion like what Jay-Z has done for black people. That's not even really the question of this, this discussion. That's not what we're talking about. Irrelevant, what Jay-Z has done. That's not even the issue. I will say this. I know for a fact that Jay-Z and his wife Beyonce have contributed money to Black Lives Matter, and that's a worthwhile cause. People often complain about Black Lives Matter receiving money from some white millionaire or billionaire. Jay-Z gave money to Black Lives Matter, if I recall correctly. And also, I have some videos on my other channel about some of the things that Jay-Z and Beyonce have done for Black people. Get a chance, I'll post links in the description box about those things. But one thing that Jay-Z did that I remember is that he also helped bail out fathers on Father's Day, Black men who were locked up for minor offenses. he helped pay their bill so that they could see their children. Jay-Z has done. So I'm glad. Thanks for taking out that person, Elaine. I didn't get to all his comments, but I appreciate that. Um, oh, okay. So he did it. So Doug, he did an interview with O'Shea. I guess doing. I guess maybe he mentioned it just doing that interview that I did. So yeah, I'm gonna look him up. That's a good point, B Money. Like people are always talking about what did somebody do for them, and the question is, what did you do for yourself? Exactly. Man. Oh, so Doug said he would pay to see that debate. B Money said he follows a blueprint of success and he doesn't ask for, doesn't expect a handout. So Doug said he would pay to see that debate. So I'm gonna check out this guy's channel, and I may message him to ask him if he's really interested in having that debate. And probably do it on O'Shea. I don't know. Like I'll talk to O'Shea, see what's up with him if he wants to have it there or not. I would rather go somewhere where like have a more fair. This audience leans far right, so it won't be a type of exchange, at least in the live chat. But who cares about the live chat? The discussion and the debate will speak for itself. So I'm open to it. I'm open to debating him, and I may reach out to him today. So I have his name. See if he's interested. Um, and me, B Money is right. It's not like anybody's worshiping Jay-Z or saying that he's some kind of role model for Black people or anything like that. Nobody's doing that. I just refuse to, allow these tap dancing minstrels. I refuse to let them just tear down people that are trying to do something positive. He has produced a documentary about, for instance, this young brother who went to Rikers Island on some trumped up charges. He was held on Rikers Island, a young man abused on Rikers Island. And once he was eventually released from Rikers Island, he suffered so much emotional distress and damage from that experience in Rikers Island that he eventually committed suicide. And Jay-Z helped to shine light on that horrific situation by creating that documentary. Also, Jay-Z has a documentary that he's doing on George Zimmerman. So those are just a few examples of things that Jay-Z has done that has been a benefit to the Black community. So let's continue on. So B Money asks, like, what good comes out of debating conservative coons? Valid in terms of like what good comes out of it in terms of trying to convince those coons of anything or trying to convince their audience of anything. Nothing comes out of it, when you look at it that way, because a lot of these people, they suffer from cognitive dissonance. No matter what kind of evidence you present to them, no matter what kind of proof you present to them, they will refuse to acknowledge it. Just like you had all those people in O'Shea Duke Jackson's comment section, just throwing around insults, not really responding at all to any of the substantive points that are raised interview. So in that sense, it's like you're trying to speak to the deaf, you're trying to make the blind see, and it's an uphill struggle. But in terms of just exposing weakness of these people hold, that's the benefit for those who haven't decided which camp they're on, or for those who understand, it helps make it even clearer just how weak and fragile these people's ideas and concepts are. And they should be defeated at the polls. I mean, I think that that's where it really matters, like defeating their political candidates. That's what matters. But anyway, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I welcome everyone's feedback and your comments. For those of you who aren't subscribed to this channel, I encourage you to subscribe this video, share this video if you agree with it, if you support it. And with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Have a great day.